everybody, and welcome to Sports Card Advantage Podcast, episode 12. It is June 1st for this recording. What is up, Bunk?
What's up, Jeff? How you doing?
I'm doing good, guy. How was your Memorial Day?
It was good. Quiet, but good.
Little family Little League?
No Little League over the holiday weekend.
Guy, what is that?
Just took in a nice Memorial Day parade with the boys and teaching them what the day means.
There's no more Little League for kids these days? On Memorial Day weekend?
Nothing scheduled.
Fair enough.
I got games tonight.
Fair enough. I remember back in the day, Memorial Day weekend, we'd have like 3 or 4 games, over the course of that weekend.
And,
all that stuff, but I guess not anymore. Anyway, all right, we got a packed agenda for this week. We are going to be talking hobby status once again. I know we talked about it last week, but it continues to be a topic of conversation across social media, across the hobby. Where are things? What do we do? Is the sky falling? Do I sell everything and get out, or do I stick around? As you can see by my background, some of the attitudes of people is, the market is crashing, but we don't feel that way. Obviously the values are off from what they were 2 months ago, but at the same time, we still feel there are opportunities out there. What are you seeing, from your day-to-day buying and selling, Bunk?
Yeah, I think the difference now between 6 months ago is you got to work a little harder to make a little money if that's your main goal.
Yeah.
If you're jumping in now and you think you're just going to pick stuff up and flip it right away, I think you're sadly mistaken in a lot of cases now. It was much easier 6 months ago just to kind of pluck something and, resend it out. But now you got to work for it a little bit.
Yeah, that seems to be the biggest overall here is the free lunch is over, getting crap cards, sending them out, getting them graded, and then flipping them, or the hobby just keeps going up, and you just buy anything and then wait 2 to 4 weeks and flip it for 20%. That obviously is definitely done, for at least for the time being. But it's not uncommon to see that in every marketplace that experiences the type of growth that the hobby has experienced right now. That's the same in crypto. Guys that had massive crypto portfolios, watch those get kicked right in the nuts and cut them in half. My crypto portfolio was cut in half literally almost within the course of a week. But if you're long the overall concept of what you're in, so if you're long crypto, you're long cards, whatever it is, you got to ride this out and find other opportunities, and things that you bought in at the top, you either got to decide whether or not you want to take the L and get the capital back, or whether or not you're going to ride it out till it rebounds.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a few people over the last week or so that, people were mentioning, it's tanking. And I was just trying to explain how I really think it's just kind of resettling, to your point. It's just we're going through a little bit of a correction here, and you got to stay on top of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're starting to see it in that things are building a bottom. And when I say building a bottom, for those of you that aren't familiar with looking at any kind of financial chart, you're seeing things start to formulate and group around the same price. And that seems to be what is going to be a new norm for that card, or, that price. And, if the values hold, that should be you have some buying opportunities. The other thing that we want to talk about here once again is pop reports. Pop reports, and also base cards versus refractors, autos, numbered cards. That trend is continuing. As far as, people were anticipating some kind of NBA playoff bounce. And I think one of the best examples of that is Devin Booker. His PSA 10 Prism cards are pop 1,200. And he's playing well. The Suns are tied with the Lakers. You're still seeing his cards plummet.
Yeah.
Plummet. They're still going down. They're not going up. They're going down. And, so you start looking at guys like, Devin Booker, Trey, Ja, Tatum, all playing well in the playoffs. And, teams winning, or at least in their series, and those cards, at least the base versions, are still going down. So you got to start looking for refractors, colored cards, autos. And, I mean, some of this shit's very expensive. but you got to start looking potentially at raw. Um, so I think that's something people have to consider.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, and I'll talk to it a little bit more when we get to the investment section. But to your point, one of the things I like to do to see on a trend is how close are your graded nines to raw values? Because
Yeah.
I think when the going's good, I think you see a pretty significant bump of a nine over a raw, and when the going's bad or it's starting to come down, that gap narrows. Now the 10 may still be performing, but I
So
think over time as the nine approaches the raw value, you got to look a little deeper.
So explain that a little bit more. So what you're saying is if you have a raw card and then a raw card that's graded PSA 9, if the market is not strong, you're saying that the PSA 9 value is pretty close to what the raw value is.
That's correct. Not. It's only a little higher than in the past if it was 25, 50. It depends on the card. But yeah,
Yeah.
the closer the nine is to the raw, I think you got to look. You got to look at, is the market still or heading downward on that card.
Okay. So for right now, if a card costing $100 raw, you're anticipating a PSA 9 going to be between 100 and 120, let's say, for example, within what, 15-20% of where the raw value is.
Well,
And
again, it depends on the card. I mean, that's going to
yeah.
be too tough to speak to. But just from a trend standpoint, if 2 months ago a nine of somebody was 20-25 bucks higher, and then today I look and it's $5 to $10 higher for for a bunch of sales, that tells me there might be a change in the overall all the cards in that department or for that player.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's definitely an interesting thing to look at when you're looking at the values. And I think that just goes back to, what you said, to open is that people, you have to work for it. You have to get in and do your research and you have to do your homework on this and really dive in and find opportunities that are going to pan out versus just buying anything and turning around and flipping it. Um, I think that, you see some good examples of this in baseball right now. For example, if you look at 2018 Acuna's, anything that's, he's playing his ass off right now, and anything that's refractor, anything that's colored, anything that's numbered or auto, the values on that are going up dramatically. His paper base tops cards population is 18,000 and
On his
change.
update
Yeah,
card,
on
right?
his update card, 18,000 and change on that. And those cards are going down. People don't want those. Not that they don't want them, but they don't have a whole lot of hope in future value for that.
Well, yeah, and especially with all the talk, I mean, if things are actually trending downward, or you're afraid of things trending downward, what do you want? The more the higher pop print run card, or the scarcer card?
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you that are sitting there saying, "Well, I can't afford some of these cards in PSA 10s," well, then buy lower graded cards. If you don't think that there are PSA 6s and 7s of these cards that are out there, that's definitely not true. And you can get those for a lot less money. And if PSA has put a grade on it, or any other grading company has put a grade on it, you can assume that the card hasn't been altered and is real. So that is one advantage of buying one of those over buying raw, is because you know that it's real if it's been graded, even if it's a lower grade.
Yeah.
And then you will have anomalies. Vlad Jr. is an anomaly because Vlad Jr.'s paper is so low pop right now. Even his paper base stuff is still going up because he's playing better than anybody thought that he was going to this year, and his paper base stuff is still in like the 1,000 to 2,000 pop range. It's not 18,000. So his stuff still has room to grow till it gets on the level of Acuna, Tatis, Soto type stuff. And he's starting to enter those conversations right now as far as being in the big three, as far as cards and talent for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't go wrong. I'm sure there's more evidence than just Vlad right now of a lower populated card of a popular player, and that's trending upward, while the majority of other stuff seems to be going back a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's definitely going to be examples out there for that. But he was the easy one that to come up with. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And for me personally, I'm anything that's higher than population 5 to 7,000 for base paper base, I'm not touching for a while. Like I want to see it. I want to see the market settle. I want to see it build a bottom. I want to see, if it's going to continue to fade. The examples that you see right now with, especially with like basketball for Trey and Ja and Tatum, and they're seeming to be at a bottom. But what happens 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, when basketball is over and then we go into a 3-month hiatus? Are those going to stay at that bottom, or are they going to continue to fall? So I want to see. Right now, I'm not touching anything paper based until after, for basketball, until after the season's over.
And to your point earlier, and to back up further or to do a little more homework, what I was referring to before about PSA 9 and raw values, that's where you have to do the work and look at the population reports on the 8s and the 9s. For example, sure, raw may be close to a PSA 9 if there's only 50 PSA 9s graded and
Yeah.
a whole boatload of 10s. I mean, you gotta, that's where you got to do the work and just can't assume.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the X factor here that we talked about last week too is what's coming back from PSA. And, we're not going to know the full impact of that for at least 12 to 18 months. And,
Yep.
and once we're 30 days away from when they're supposedly opening their doors again. And, how much more is going to flood in to get graded for guys that have just been sitting on the sidelines with raw until they open back up.
Have they talked about their pricing yet?
Nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
because the what I see the most being talked about is if across the board the grading companies raise some prices to steer you away from sending 100 paper-based rookie cards to get graded. Is that where we're headed?
I mean, honestly, I hope so, but you have companies like SGC that are making their money right now on that kind of stuff. They're still only charging $30 a card. And, but for me, in my opinion, it's like, if you're going to have that low end of a thing, then make the turnaround 180 days or, whatever it is, so that you don't have people that literally just open a box and send the whole box of garbage to the grading company and hope for 10s.
Yeah. I mean, this is partially why I'm in a collecting rut these days. Like, I honestly don't know. Like, for example, we got these paper-based cards with 10K plus PSA 10s. I almost rather just own a nicely centered, sharp-cornered raw one. But then at the same time, okay, now we're saying, okay, well, we don't want all these high pop paper base, so let's look for the scarcer cards to 25 to 50. But if it's that scarce, to me, sometimes I'm like, maybe I don't even want to grade it. It's scarce. It has its own, meaning to me and value to me because it's scarce, and I'm only one of 25 people that has this card. Do I really get that bump in the future? As a 9.5 or a 10.
Well, that's the whole question as far as whether or not you're ever going to sell the card. Because if you're ever going to sell the card, you have to have the grade on, just for the validity's sake. I mean, just for the sake that this has been authenticated, it's real, it's in good condition.
I think to maximize your return, it helps to have it great because you could post 100 pictures, and say, okay, it's clean, but
yes, but I would have to imagine PSA 8, 9, 10 most of the time will outsell raw, because especially on higher end cards, because people know that it's real. And
I just overpaid for a BGS 7.5 Adam Dunn.
So would you pay $8 instead of $6?
Yeah, something like that.
Why are you like, what exists that you need to buy a BGS 7.5 Adam Dunn where the 8s, 9s, and 10s not available? Like, his shit can't be that expensive.
No, it's not. It was $10. I just wanted the card. It was impulse. But to your point, I'm keeping the card.
Yeah.
So I didn't care.
Yeah, it goes into the collection, and it's just something that you take, that you just have in your own collection. But I see the points for both sides, and in my opinion, anything that's higher end, I want an authentication at minimum. I want to know that
that's fair.
It's sealed in plastic, it's been authenticated. I know that it's real. It's not been altered. It's safe. And because you never know, stuff happens, and at least if it's sealed in plastic, that there's minimal chance that it can get damaged. So
Can't argue with that.
All right, Guy, let's move on. Keep it moving here. Let's move on to our investment lottery tickets section of the show. I'm going to talk basketball first, and then I know that you have a lot planned on Juan Soto. We're going to talk Kyrie, Irving, James Harden first. And so it's interesting that, the Nets have their big three. They are pretty much blowing the doors off the Celtics. It should be easy for them to move on. It seems like whenever they want to actually play, they will step up and blow people out. Irving and Harden stuff has been in free fall for the last 2 to 3 months. For the first part of the season, when the Nets all came together and the super team and all that, I mean, their stuff was up 200-300%, and now we've seen a lot of that value get pulled back down. But with both Irving and Harden, you are seeing some bottoms get put in, at least in my opinion. I do think that there are opportunities now if you want a quick flip to buy and basically hope that they're going to win a title. And if they do, that should be an easy opportunity for you to make money. All three of those guys are not hurt and on the floor, so they have as good a chance as any, in my opinion, right now to win a title. Lakers may not even make it out of the first round with LeBron, so I think it's wide open, and they are the favorite. So those are two guys that I would take a look at. Durant's the interesting anomaly here. His stuff continues to go up, especially some of the, refractor Topps Chrome versus Topps Paper. His Topps Chrome card has literally been a straight up arrow for the last 2 years. And, so I think that, Durant's not something that I'm looking to, I would be looking to buy right now, even if I had the 10 or 12 grand to put into a PSA 10. It's just been continuously going up, but I would definitely look at Irving and Harden, both two guys. You should be able to find some stuff you can afford in, PSA 7, 8, 9, and 10, just depending on your budget. And the other person that I want to talk about today is Klay Thompson. I thought about him, and I was just like, when we start looking at guys who are hurt and, where their values are, and I was like, Klay hasn't stepped on the court for any regular period of time in the last 2 years. And if you rewind to 2 years ago, he was a projected Hall of Famer. Golden State was coming off titles. His cards were through the roof. But in my opinion, they haven't pulled back enough that I would look at him as a buying opportunity. So if you're looking at Klay and he's been hurt and I'm going to buy and things should rebound, I don't know if they will. And, it'd be something that I want to see him step back on the court, be healthy, be old Klay, see how that's going to impact the team. If he becomes old Klay, Warriors start winning titles again, you should be able to see some value there. But in my opinion, I'm waiting on the sideline until I see what he can do and how that impacts the team, because his cards haven't fallen off anywhere near enough for how the market has cooled and the fact that he hasn't played in 2 years.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about it. You could wait till he gets back, and then it could be too late.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you're going to try to speculate, his Prism PSA 10s, are still $700-800. And
well, to your point earlier, maybe we're at his floor. It's been built currently, and maybe it's could go up more.
It's definitely possible, and I would wait ideally until you start seeing some reports that he's fully healthy, he's back on the floor, and then gently is the best way that I would, dip a toe in before you go full-fledged on that, because I definitely think there's room, but I want to see some indication that he's going to be on the floor, because for whatever reason he just isn't going to be able to bounce back. It's an Andrew Luck type situation, a guy that was potentially a future Hall of Famer that career got cut short and is not going to go to the Hall of Fame just based on the fact that they didn't play long enough. So We'll see. But I know that you put a lot of research into Mr. Juan Soto. I am actually going to bring up our old faithful Card Ladder website
Uh-oh.
here so that we can even look at some analysis and some charts. So why don't you fire
Yeah,
away?
well, for sure. So chime in to support or go against some of the data I was looking at. Things I was looking at were just past sales over the last 3 months and the corresponding population reports.
Yeah, guy, fire some cards at me here. What are we looking at for Juan
Well,
Soto?
well, for his raw cards across the board, and I looked at three main ones. I looked at his Topps Heritage, so that's card 502 if you're looking it up. His Bowman's Best, and his Topps Update. So much like Acuna, his update PSA 10 is upwards of 17K,
All right.
and it was pushing $300 at the beginning of the season, maybe February, early March. And right now, they're pretty consistent at $150 or half that price.
So Topps paper update or
Yeah,
not
paper update,
Topps
not the Chrome,
not
paper
Topps
update.
Chrome. Okay, yeah,
That's
pop.
card number 300.
Yeah, pop 17221 and most recent sale looks to be 152.
Yeah, and they've all been right in that range, 150, pretty steady for a couple weeks, and it was pushing 300. I mean, you probably have the peak info right in front of you there.
Yes, 380.33 is the most recent sale, and that was back before the season started.
Yeah. I mean,
So
that's a pretty significant drop off for someone who's held in as high as regard as some of the other players you mentioned earlier. He's in the same class as rookie card wise as Otani and Acuna, whose stuff is off the charts right now, or much higher than Soto's. But listen, a product of he was hurt a little bit. He hasn't jumped off the power numbers to start the season right away. The Nationals are in last place, but still a young super talent. Who, if you believe in, the numbers don't lie here, there's some good values on Sotos from their previous highs.
So here's what I'm looking at from just a pure chart standpoint. You have
Yep.
some previous resistance in the 130 to 150 range back in mid 2020. And
Which
then
one are we talking about?
we're talking about the update.
Okay.
And then we have some support at the 150 to 160 range, which is where we're seeming to fall into right now. So I would say if you can get these cards 150, 160, that should be, provided he doesn't have any sort of long-term injury or anything else, that should be a good spot for you to get in as far as like low risk, a low risk play.
Yeah, I mean, listen, some guys are just injury prone, but I think for the majority of people, when you're looking at these type of things, I tend not to let injuries take over for me a little for that much. I mean, he's given us no reason other than little nagging things to say that on, but
Yeah, so now I brought up his Heritage card, Topps 2018 Topps Heritage.
mm-hmm. So this one, the PSA 10, you're looking at only 5K.
Yep.
2,100 on the PSA 9. The PSA 10 is about half, almost half of what it's the previous high that I looked at.
So yeah, it looks like we have a recent high of 197.50. And this shows a similar pattern to the Topps Update card. You're starting to see some support at its current level here around $90.
That's where I have it at. When was that 190? I was gonna say that's a huge outlier if it was in the last month.
No, the 190s was back in March, so before the season started. Same as his update card, and you see some previous support. So this is the only thing that makes me a little nervous. Is his previous support was in the like $60 to $70 range, $55 to $70 range. So even if you can get in at 90, that's not a huge it's not a huge risk. You're talking maybe 20, $30, and then hopefully you have some upward potential if he can start hitting. And what was the last Bowman's best?
So this one's the interesting one. It's his 2018 Bowman's Best. So he's got a couple cards in that set, including inserts that have the rookie card logo on it. But the base card is card number 29.
Okay, 2018 Bowman's Best.
Yeah, so you're seeing raws about half what they were preseason.
So
PSA 9s have significantly fallen off. Significantly. This is one of the, now there's not a lot of PSA 9, so this doesn't support what I was mentioning earlier. But the PSA 9 is just above the raw at this point.
yeah,
And
it looks
the
like
PSA 10s are also about half price.
yeah, it looks like there's a lot less of these being, hitting the
Only
mark.
800, only 800 the PSA 10. That's why this is the card I'm looking at.
Yeah, 803 on that pop, current value 94. I mean, but it looks like there's some massive swings here. I mean, we literally have on the 10th it sold for $85. On
There's some in the
the
50s right now.
15th it sold for $160. I mean, these things are literally $30-$40 jumps between sales. So,
Well, so I think what you're seeing here is I think you're seeing the people who know the population reports of these cards and the people who don't. So if you're following the trends of other Soto cards, you're not bidding, you're not buying. But if you know the population reports here, for example, if you look deeper into the 3 inserts in this set, now they're all rookie cards. They have the rookie card logo. They look pretty darn cool. The PSA 10s are in the hundreds. It's like 120, 140, 135, and they're selling for about the same as the base. So out of everything we just discussed, if I'm looking to get in on a PSA 10 Soto, I'm looking at, one of the insert sets, which would be the best performers, the neophyte sensation, or the power producer insert, because the population report is literally in the hundreds.
Yeah, so I just brought up the 2018 Bowman's Best Juan Soto refractor, and we had one that went for $150 on the 11th, and
I've seen that thing well over 3.
160. Well, let me get there. 168 yesterday, and the peak for this over the last few years was 415.
Yeah.
So if you want to stay away from paper base and you're looking for something affordable, $150, you can find this card. And this also helps illustrate what we were just talking about. If you look at the atomic refractor up until the last last 2 sales, it has basically been trending up. So I mean, there's opportunities here, and if you're looking at Soto could potentially be in the conversation with Tatis and Acuna for future star, if you can get his a Bowman's Best refractor for $150 PSA 10 and put it in the drawer for a few years, it's not a bad deal.
And that's just it. And that's to your long or short here. I think once a player, and especially these budding superstars, get 3 to 4 years off their rookie card, I think that's when their biggest floor gets established, unless they're just going berserk. So I actually think some of these guys, I think there'll still be room to improve based on like awesome performances, but these guys like Acuna and Soto, and you're looking like 3 to 4 years off the rookie card. I think they're going into a little bit of a holding pattern for a while until they really establish and start laying down some career numbers, and then they start taking off again.
Yeah. So basically, this is definitely a longer term opportunity. We're not saying that this is quick flip territory. So if you're looking for stuff that you can hold for the next few years, that you may be able to 3x your money. I mean, I know that sounds crazy these days that 3x isn't enough for people, but it's
20 for me.
Yeah, exactly. But that is these are definitely some opportunities, especially with Soto, and hopefully the Nationals being a somewhat bigger market team in DC figure out a way to turn it around and start winning some games too. That always helps.
And and a nice example, why Soto's a nice example right now, where it may not be a long play, is he's literally hitting 270 with 4 home runs, which is not what we're used to.
Yeah.
He has a hot month heading into into the summer, hits 10 bombs in a month, and all the news is on Juan Soto. Those things are going to jump again for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if you're looking for smaller plays or smaller flip opportunities with 20, 30, 40%, definitely opportunities are there as well. Anything else for our investment section here, Bunk?
Okay, I think we're good.
All right.
Well, you know what we can talk about?
What can we talk about?
Well, I wanted to stop you, but you're in a groove, basketball groove.
I was on a roll.
No, but with how we're not quite seeing the same NBA playoff boost that we saw last year,
Yeah.
I remember vividly, and this is the perfect day, being the day after Memorial Day 2021. Memorial Day weekend of 2020. I was home. And I'm watching card prices. Now we were thick in the middle of Project 2020 and that disaster. And I was watching one of the Derek Jeter cards I had bought and was being held hostage by Topps, was selling for $1,200. But because I refused to pre-sale anything and they're already showing evidence of not shipping your cards out, I later sold the card for like $20 when I did get it in hand. But I think we're in a completely different place than we were a year ago. So I think some of what we're seeing is definitely that, and you got to remember that.
Yeah,
I'll never forget that weekend watching card prices just soar. Trouts were through the roof. People were spending hundreds, thousands of dollars on Project 2020 cards that had 10,000 print runs. I mean, it was insane.
the FOMO seems to be over. It's like, oh my God, I have to buy this card right now because if I don't, then I'm going to miss the window. Like that feeling and sentiment seems to be over because now you've seen that like if I want to go buy a PSA 10, just about anything, unless it's super rare, that it's going to be available somewhere. eBay, online marketplaces, other shows. It's not like something that's going to disappear. And people are starting to get a little bit more educated on what the value should be in population reports and charts. And I think we're going to settle into a groove like any other market, stock market, crypto, the whole 9 yards. It's going to be any other market, and I think that's the direction that we're starting to go in.
Right, and you're going to learn from every win and loss over the last year, and take it with you moving forward as you make good hobby decisions.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly right. Just good business decisions for your portfolio going forward.
I said hobby.
Yes, I know that. All right, here we go. We're moving on to our sports card education section of the podcast. If you follow anything on social media, you are seeing tons of new scam reports, fraud, fake PSAs, fake autos. Definitely something that scares the shit out of a lot of people because with modern technology, it doesn't take much to be able to create a PSA label, a plastic slab out of a mold, 3D printer, whatever it is you're going to do, and make your own cards. So I think this is something that is very interesting to see how PSA is going to start combating that. But for you as a buyer, we're going to talk about some tips right now to basically hopefully keep you out of trouble. So Bunk, why don't you kick us off here as far as if let's say you're buying bigger pieces, high end thousands and thousands of dollar cards. Where are you looking? What are you doing to avoid getting scammed and making sure you're getting authentic stuff?
Yeah, I mean, are we talking off eBay?
Anywhere, eBay, off eBay. I mean, I would imagine it's, you have similar buying habits. Just if I'm gonna spend $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 on a card, you're looking for similar things.
I mean, if I'm spending that kind of money, I'm definitely looking for the most reputable dealers that I can find. I'll look at auction houses. I'm not going to buy it from the guy with 100 Twitter followers who has one person vouching for them. I got to be looking at people I've known for a while, or they've been a mainstay in the social media community.
Yeah.
And then I can get multiple people telling me, yeah, I've dealt with this guy or gal, and they're good people.
Yeah, I think the main thing that you're looking at is that there's some sort of establishment that is backing whoever it is you're buying from. That's going to, if you figure out that for whatever reason what you just bought is fake, that somebody's going to stand up and own up to it and refund your money. So eBay has certain things with PayPal and or however other payment methods. Large eBay sellers usually will vouch for themselves, and if for whatever reason they sell you something fake unknowingly, they'll refund for that. And then auction houses, you go to auction houses, them too. Usually they get any merchandise authenticated, even if it's already graded.
They have to, because they can't take the PR hit if
Yeah.
they have multiple items coming back tainted. Then they're not going to make any money.
Yeah, if Golden Auction sells you $100,000 fake card, with social media these days, that's not going to go unnoticed, and people are going to be very, very scared to buy. so they have to stand behind it. They have insurance. All these companies have insurance to handle stuff like this. So don't buy it from, as Bunk said, somebody who has 4 feedback on eBay and 7 followers on Twitter.
Yeah, like Joe from Kentucky. I'm not buying a $5,000 card off Twitter. It's just not going to happen. You could be the greatest guy in the world and the most genuine dude in the world, but that's just not enough for me to pull the trigger on it unless I drive out there and check it out.
Yeah, and even that, in modern technology these days, the PSA labels aren't fucking hard to replicate. It's a red box with a white background and some black lettering. Like it's not a challenge. So
yeah,
I think
I don't. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I think PSA really needs to start to almost start taking some technology that's being used by currency and integrating some sort of security strip into the plastic or something that's a lot harder that I can't just go replicate.
I bet it's been discussed.
Yeah,
Backroom meetings. I'm sure it has. I mean, and if you ever see, for people wondering, if you ever see people's pictures of graded cards and the serial number scratched out, that's just one low level way of making sure someone can't, replicate that number per se. But
yeah, unfortunately though, it's not hard to find a number that you can replicate, like a type number.
Well, yeah, because if there's 5,000 of the same card, you'll find the one you want.
Yeah.
So
exactly. I mean, I could easily replicate a Acuna label. There's 18,000 PSA 10s, and it wouldn't be hard. So I think that PSA eventually, or all these grading companies, have to start looking into holographs or security strips that's in the plastic or something that's going to be able to distinguish it from somebody who's trying to fake it. The other part of this that I wanted to talk about is the lower level stuff. Are you scared of buying cards from Australia, China, foreign countries? Does that give you pause, from buying some of that stuff? Let's say it's a $300 card.
I don't do it just because I don't trust it. The delivery process versus who I'm buying it from more than anything. I don't want to wait a month for it to get over here on a boat or whatever, however it gets here. I mean, plane can get here in less than a day, but
I'm gonna go the opposite of that. I bought a ton of stuff in the last 6-8 months from guys in China, guys in Australia, wherever, and I found that sometimes auctions can close lower because guys like you won't want to touch it. And
100%.
And as long as I'm not as long as I don't care about waiting, I mean, sometimes I've waited 6 to 8 weeks to get my cards. But at the same time, if I'm not flipping the card quickly and I don't need it in my hands, I know that, up to a certain dollar value, eBay stands up for it. Up for a certain dollar value, PayPal stands up. So for whatever reason it gets lost, I'll know I'll get my original money back. And if I can save 10-15% on the auction, that pays for taxes, fees, shipping, whatever. And with that being said, you always got to keep in mind what the person is charging for shipping, because if the card's worth $250 and they're going to charge $25 for shipping, don't pay more than $225 because you still have to pay $25 for shipping. So keep an eye on that too. I've had that happen, learned that the hard way, where I kept bidding up and wound up paying more than I should have, and then tacked a $25 or $35 shipping charge on it. So just keep your eyes open for shipping and feedback.
Yeah, I mean, I don't seek out those auctions or to purchase, but the ones I have bought by accident from overseas, I've never had an issue. But
yeah,
I just don't want to worry about where's my card for 2 months. That's just me.
Yeah, absolutely. To each his own, but I think it's stuff that I worry about is more on the higher end. Lower end stuff, usually depending on where you're buying it from, you have a very low risk of running into some of those problems. I mean, the biggest problem you have is just if somebody doesn't pack it right, and then the card could get damaged in the mail, and then you got to fight it out. But once again, if you have guys that have high feedback or have a good reputation, usually they will pack it right, or stand up for it and
or take care of you, right?
And make it right. As opposed to the one guy who sent us a what was that, a $750 Pulisic PSA 10 by accident, and then had to ask for it back, and then we had to send it back to him.
Well, right. I mean, just because it was the right thing to do, but yeah, he
Yeah.
screwed up pretty bad.
Yeah, that was a fun one. We were buying some cards and we bought a card and the guy wound up, it was a huge dealer and doing so much volume, and it was like a $50 or $60 card, and they wound up sending us a $750 card, and we did the right thing and we sent it back, and then he actually wound up sending us some additional cards as a thank you. So
Yeah, and then another point is I know some people don't open their mail for a week or two after, and that was one of the issues we ran into there because we didn't open that for well after the delivery dates. We didn't know it was sitting there for the longest time, so that made things a little worse. So you get a package, open it up, check it out, especially if it's from eBay or something like that. Just because if there's an issue, take care of it right away. Don't sit on it for 10 days and then say, oh, there's an issue. It just looks worse.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely something good to follow, and just be a good hobbyist and do the right thing. Don't be an asshole, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there.
There's none of those on Twitter.
Yeah, of course not. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would have just kept the $750 card and said, thanks, but just do the right thing. Anyway,
I mean, obviously he knew it came to us.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure people try to get away with stuff all the time like that.
Yeah. Well,
and then post about it and brag about it.
And that, unfortunately, is where we are right now, and that's why you got to look out for being scammed. There's whenever there's money, there's always going to be scams that follow, and that's where we're at now. I mean, there's so much money getting made in the hobby, and people are just finding ways to try to take advantage of people. So do your homework, stay educated. If you ever have questions, there's tons of forums out there. Post stuff up on Twitter. Find guys that have good followings on Twitter and say, hey, is this real? Is this legit? And you usually get a lot of good feedback from people.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe it took eBay that long to come out with their non-machinable stamp tracking thing. People would buy PWEs all the time. Be like, I didn't get it, and there's no way to track it. And most of these big dealers that would just say, all right, I'm going to make that $2 problem go away and just refund you. And people are just taking cards all the time.
Taking advantage. Well, unfortunately, there are those people out there, but
for $2 cards.
It is what it is, my friend.
Yeah, I know. You're all big business over there.
Not a matter of big business. I don't give a shit about $2 cards you're buying to fill a set. Anyway, let's move on. We got our hot take. Wayne Gretzky, 1979 O-Pee-Chee PSA 10, recently sold for $3.75 million. Which brings us to another question that we've addressed on this podcast before, as far as, legit reprints, not like I made this on my printer, but legit reprints. We've started to see the 1992 25th anniversary O-Pee-Chee card start to surface now that the Gretzky card sold for that much money. So let's touch base on this again. I know that we are very, very far apart as far as what we think about this. So I'll give you the floor here as far as voicing
it's
your
trash.
opinion.
There's no floor. It's just pure trash. I honestly think, now listen, I don't want to, not trying to be a hobby gatekeeper, but like, honestly, why are you going to pay big dollars for a 1992 reprint of Gretzky?
Because it looks like
or the 1996 reprint of Michael Jordan.
Because it looks like the original, and I can't afford.
So pay $10 for it. Why are we paying hundreds and thousands of dollars for it?
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. What are you talking about?
Hundreds or thousands.
Oh, I mean, because it's real, it's graded, it's made by the original card manufacturer, as opposed to me going to Staples and fucking printing it out on my printer and just so that I have it. I mean, at least it's made by the card company. It's been graded, and it looks, if you have show pieces, it looks nice. It looks like the original iconic card that you can't afford. That's why.
I don't want to display that. Here's my fake, not real, iconic rookie card, graded 10.
Well, I mean,
okay, conversation over.
No,
I don't want that. If I go to enough shows and take a countrywide tour, I'll probably find 100 of each of them in a quarter bin.
No way.
Yes, easy.
No way, dude. The PSA 10 96 Jordans are selling.
I'm saying raw, just sitting in a box that no one knows about, because they knew back then it was worth a quarter.
Oh, so you're saying it's hidden in some card store in Arkansas and in the quarter bin?
I'm saying in
You
a
just have to
lot of
go
bins.
fish them out. Oh,
Yeah.
we're getting off topic. Yeah, in my opinion, I think they have some value. They have, if you like the way the card looks, it's a way for you to attain it without having to spend the money.
What's a PSA 10 Gretzky 92 reprint selling for?
As of now, before we got on, I think it was like $300, $400. And the Jordan.
And what was the Jordan, like 3K or something last we looked?
Nah, the last time we looked,
They told you it would tank, and I'm sure it has, but
we're still the PSA 10 96 Fleer Decade of Excellence Jordan the other day. PSA 10 sold for about $500 or $600.
And what was its high?
I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 12, 13, something like that.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's fallen off like everything else. If you remember, the original bet was it'll hit 2,000 before it hits 20. And
$20, right?
Yeah, $20 because that's what you think it's worth. So it's definitely closer to 20 than it is 2,000, but I don't think it ever hits $20. I think there's people out there that want to own the iconic card that can't afford the iconic card, so they'll buy that as a substitute.
Yeah, listen, if that's your thing, it's all good. But if that's your thing, you're buying it as art, display, whatever purposes. That card has no value to me.
I mean, I
monetarily
to you, but there's a lot of other people in this hobby besides you, so
I'm aware.
I think you saw
most of the people I know aren't shelling out $300 for the reprint PSA 10.
Well, I mean,
I think you're talking more people outside the hobby that want a showpiece, an office piece, or something like that. They're on the fringe of
that
collecting.
That 92 O-Pee-Chee card probably sold for a lot less until it sold for $3.7 million. And then it goes up with the value. So if you start to see that 90, I don't think you're going to see much more on the 92 O-Pee-Chee. I mean, the 79 O-Pee-Chee. But if you see the 96 Decade of Excellence card start to go back up and that thing closes like $1 million, I think you see the 96 card go up along with it because people are buying it. It was the same as the 1985 Jordan promo, the Nike promo. I mean, those cards were ridiculous. The PSA 10s on the 1985 Nike promo cards, those things were selling for tens of thousands of dollars for PSA 10s.
Can't wait till the Jeter reprint anniversary comes out.
And you may buy one because you can't afford.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy the real one.
Well, hopefully you can make enough money and the wife will say yes, because otherwise you ain't buying the real one.
I'm also not buying the fake one.
Keep buying and selling those three and $10 Adam Dunn cards, guy, and you'll get there.
Yeah, man. Slow but steady. Get where you need to go.
Little by little. All right. Well, that'll remain a battle, and we'll check in on the whole reprint discussion. In a bit. I'm sure there's probably some other iconic cards out there that'll maybe have some anniversary or other things, but we'll see.
I think, to be fair, all reprints after the Jordan one, there was definitely a spike on all sorts of ones. You saw some mantle ones, and there was definitely a spike on a bunch of different reprints of iconic cards.
But for me, what I want to see is it's made by the company that manufactured the original card. So O-Pee-Chee manufactured the 92, Fleer manufactured the 96 Jordan. I don't want to see like, hey, I made a printout and I have a really nice printer and here's my printer settings and this is how I made this card. Like, I don't care about that. I want to see it made by the card company. And if it's made by the card company, I'll spend a little bit of money on it. I'm tracking 2 PSA 9s right now for 1996 Jordan Decade of Excellence that I may be able to get for $100 a piece, and I'll take those.
And what are you gonna do with them?
Sit on them, give them away for a future thing that we may do for Sports Card Advantage, or whatever it is that.
Yeah. Listen. Like I've said before, and I gotta go back. Would you rather have the card or would you rather have the money? And if you say to yourself you want that card, then have at it.
Yep, that's the way it is.
I'm allowed to think it's dumb, though.
Yeah, you're allowed to think whatever you want. All right, we're gonna wrap up with our peanut gallery question. We'll keep our nationals theme going. NCCS, is it that? Is that what it is? NCCS is the name of the national show.
I don't know, never been.
Okay, thanks for the help on that one. I believe it's NCCS announced today that the show is officially on. So we will keep our theme going here, getting people ready for the national. The question that came in is, when I am buying cards at the national or any show, what should I be looking at as far as offering in regards to comp value?
Just like at a dealer table or something like that?
Yep, you're at a show, you're walking around, let's say I want to buy a $500 card, and the last 3 sales on eBay have gone for $500. What am I trying to offer a dealer to try to get the best price?
Yeah, so just in my head, I'd say, okay, if it's averaging 500 and he wants 500 off eBay, well, I know if he sold that on eBay, he's not going to walk away with $500, right?
Yep.
He's going to have his final value fee, his PayPal fee. Most of the bigger guys don't have any listing fees if they have a store, etc. But there's definitely some fees that dude's going to incur, and he's not walking away with that amount. So I'm going to do the quick math on that, and take those things into account and try to come in at a number there that's still reasonable.
Yeah, 100%. And I think right now, especially if the market continues to stay soft going into national, keep your target 10 to 15% below comps as far as what your top dollars should be, because otherwise, you can buy it on eBay, and so just keep that stuff in mind. And you want to make sure that you're not, just because he says that it's worth X or the dealer says it's worth X, do your research, look on 130 Point and sportscardcomps.com, and check out values and look at averages. Don't look at the most recent. Don't look at best offer accepted, because dealers will sometimes try to do that. They'll look for a high best offer accepted instead of actual auctions. So look at where the auctions are closing, and take 10 or 15% off of that, and then drop it down even more before you make your initial offer.
Yeah, and on the flip side, there's some advantages to at the show. I get to hold the card, I get to see the card, I get to turn the card around, I get to look at it from every angle. I get to check in on all the lights.
Yeah, for raw, that's definitely important. Buying raw cards in person is definitely important that you can actually do that.
Right. So when I'm still not gonna, I think your numbers are fair there, but I'm not. I don't know that I'd go too much lower than that, especially if it's a hot card. I mean, I've definitely made the mistake, and I said this on a previous episode. Someone I thought was overcharging a little bit for the time, but the market was heading in a different direction. I knew the market was heading in a different direction, and I offered lower than I should have. I mean, what I should have done was just bought the card.
Yeah,
I should have absolutely just bought the card.
Yep.
So I think if someone's coming in at a show on a bigger card and it's close to where it needs to go and it looks good in hand, I don't think there's any reason to crazy lowball, buy the card.
Yeah, I mean, if it's $500, you could be offering $425, something along those lines. Give him a little room to move up, and then hopefully you can get it roughly 10 to 15% below. You don't want to insult the guy and be like, "Oh, I'll give you $250." I mean, just be reasonable and try to come in 10 to 15% below comps, and have your arguments ready, just to say, like, listen, dude, eBay fees are X, sales tax is Y, and let's all save some money here and do it that way. So
yeah, and some of them will tell you. I've spoken to enough guys in stores and shows. Some will tell you they'll just move on because the next guy that comes to the table will offer them more or buy it outright.
Yeah.
So don't get upset if you get rejected.
Yeah, and at the same time, if you look around, there's nobody behind you, and it's not like a flood of people like trying to buy the same card. I mean, usually the guy won't tell you to fuck off unless you're really being insulting, and he'll try to work with you so that he can sell. So just be reasonable in what you're offering, and if there's a bunch of people around trying to buy the same card, then yeah, it is what it is. All right, guy, I think we're going to wrap up episode 12. Anything else you want to throw out there for comments?
No, I'm going to work this week on getting out of my collecting rut.
There you go, guy. Jump back in there and see what other Adam Dunns you can find.
Well, that I'm good with. If I'm content with Adam Dunn's, I got to find something else to focus on.
I don't know.
I'm having a hard time focusing on other card hobby type things. You got Finest Baseball coming out, which I used to like a lot, and now I got Aqua Shimmer refractors and Rose Gold refractors. There's like 100 different. I can't.
All right, there, Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino. Thanks for the curmudgeon rant.
Yeah, that's my get off my lawn.
Yeah,
rant.
get off my lawn rant. Well, there you go. And on that note, we'll close up episode 12. Thank you all for listening. Please feel free to like, share, review. If you have any questions you want us to talk about, send them to info@sportscardadvantage.com. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. We thank you for continuing to listen. Shout out to Evan from Minnesota.